JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Wednesday, January 23, 329 on this fine Fed Day afternoon talk. Really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P flat 0.00 right now on the SPY. Right as I'm talking here, post-Fed. So Fed Chair Powell, they held rates, stood pat on rates. Fed Chair Powell just did his press conference. Same old mumbo jumbo. Right off the bat, the first question that came out was in regards to anything not related to the economy, right? What's going on with uh, being at the press conference, well, being at the Supreme Court hearing for Lisa Cook. And then after the second question, Powell just pretty much squashes, says, I'm not answering any questions. Let's move on. And then it went on to the other same old stuff, the dual mandate, full employment, 2% inflation, same old, same old. So, uh, anyway, so take a look at the markets. But to me, now the big event obviously switches. I would say switch because I think it was already the earnings after close. Microsoft, Meta, uh, Tesla, I think ServiceNow, IBM. Yeah, it's gonna be a big earnings after the close. I was talking about this morning. It's 10% of the S&P weighting after the close. So if those stocks move, the Tesla, the Metas, the Microsofts, substantial up or down, it's going to obviously have an impact on the S&P. Similar to what happened with United Healthcare yesterday with the Dow. But certainly going to be interesting. Today's one of those days where I look at trades that I've wanted to take, and I'm happy I didn't. So it's kind of like a winning trade by not taking, right? Preserve capital. Uh, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe 700 at the end of the week on the SPY, but trying to time or find some trades. I'm just being patient here. So this will be, well, we'll see if it close green. Put an end to the 5-session winning streak. Also today, what was it? Trump had his TrumpAccounts.com press conference. Michael Dell and all those folks in the audience. So that was that. Same old comments there. So nothing really crazy today. Um, well, it's nothing crazy. Silver and gold going nuts. Day number, whatever you want to call it, but I won't call them the parabolic moves. But it's funny, right? If you thought you like gold at 4,000, and all of a sudden it's 5,000, it's up 3% today, right? It's like it's funny how that works, right? Price discovery. I remember back in the day, you trade Netflix, and it was pre-split, 3 splits ago, it was $100 stock, and now nobody liked it, and now it's up thousands of percent from where it is, and everybody loves it. Or well, not recently, but it just goes to show it's like how sentiment works and the market and all that fun stuff. When things don't have as much risk, they become more attractive assets. Well, anyway, all right. So that's kind of overall markets. I talked about 690, 693 on the SPY. So we're sitting up here at 695 and change. If we get some weakness today, tomorrow, pending anything end of day here, that's kind of what I'll be watching. And then I continue to be in the mindset of adding nibbling spec calls on dips. So that's kind of the mentality I'll have going into tomorrow. We'll see. I mean, things can change. I was trying to do some names for earnings, but again, if I have conviction or if I'm able to ride some trades free into earnings, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll sit on my hands. So considering I wasn't able to do the ServiceNow trade, thankfully, because ServiceNow is trading under 130, I'll just kind of sit and watch that. All right, so that's overall market. Also, the yield situation, right? I mean, Fed Chair Powell talked about the unsustainable debt, saying it's a pretty much like a it's a point, it's a topic that there's really everybody's in the same boat, right? Everybody thinks that the path of the U.S. debt it's an unsustainable path. I mean, we've known this not just last year when the big beautiful tax bill, right? That kind of brought it to attention. All of a sudden, no one talks about it. It's funny how that works too, right? Everybody's talking about when the tax bill comes, but then it all disappears. And then once another topic, usually it's the government shutdowns or the debt ceiling, all these. Then we talk about it again. Then we don't talk about it again. So at some point, someone's got to address that. And there's ways to get out of that. And I don't want to go on tangents, right? You can grow out of the debt, so we can have insane GDP growth, tax revenues, tariff all those revenues come in, and debt goes down because of we're taking in more than we're financing our debt, right? And we're paying down the debt. That's one of the other ways. And the other ways is lower rates, and then fiscal, right? Cutting back on spending. So I'm no economist. I don't. So I'm not telling folks how, but hopefully someone addresses the debt. All right. End, dot, period, exclamation point. Done with that one. All right. So that's overall market. Just quick on individual names. I didn't do much today. First, I want to talk about Carvana really quick. Just, I mean, they're poster childs for names that you can make there'll be studies on people go into market classes in 10, 15 years from now, and Carvana will be one of those names. Insane, right? Back in 2023, is under $8. And I think it's round tripped a couple times. But it's a name that it's very hard for folks to wrap their head around their business model, right? And if you look at about the way people bought cars back in the day, or still do, it's dealerships, right? And crazy stuff that some kind of states you can't buy a car unless it's in a dealership, and Tesla's kind of got around that, right? And that's one of those obstacles. It's just mind-boggling, right? Because wow. Anyway, so here's a service and a company that people have been bearish forever on all the time, because it's a very easy model to poke holes in the story, right? I mean, who would think this is a viable business model? And even if it is, that is profitable or it can make money, and it's turned out to be monster, right? But you still have folks, and there's still a huge short interest because maybe there is, right? But when there's smoke, there's fire. And they've been talking about this situation with this drive time, this financing company that does some of the transaction, whatever. And supposedly the founders in cahoots. I don't know. But the short piece this morning, and we're watching Carvana, I'm like, why is this selling off? And then you see this Gotham City Research saying that they overstated their revenues by in excess of $1 billion 2023, 2024. Who knows, right? I'm not trading Carvana. But just a great example of how divisive a name could be and how it continues to be divisive. I mean, the stock is up. You take a look. Hindenburg Research came out with their short piece before they dropped the mic last year at the end of start of last year, saying, "Oh, that's our last short piece." And then the stock is up whatever percent since they did that start of last year. But they had the same kind of short thesis on it, right? To me, the short thesis on Carvana, it's an $80 billion company, wherever they can just raise debt out of any bear case, right? In the bear case for Hindenburg Research, they're going to go bankrupt and whatever. But I'm like, they can just do offerings, right? But anyway, poster child for. But at some point, maybe there's a bounce opportunity. I don't think I've traded options on Carvana at all. So I don't mean to get on a tangent, but a name to watch at some point. All right, so that's overall market. That's Carvana. Just quick on individual names. So Serve Robotics, I got those February 15 strikes yesterday. Locked some in before the end of the day for 60% or what have you. And then I'm watching it today. It was all open. Opens up near 13, chopping around. I'm watching the market, and if you've watch Serve, which serves on one of my main streamers, I watch it all the time. It just looked like it was struggling, and not struggling in a completely bad way, but just didn't look like it was going to break out. And if you watch Serve in the past, you know that sellers eventually will take hold, and they start to do that. So I didn't want to lose the profits on those strikes. I closed the last of those out for like 40%. So a profitable trade. It's not that's not normally when I entered the Serve Robotics calls yesterday, February 15th. I'm not looking for 50% gains. I'm looking for 500, 800%, 1,000, things like that. Those are that's kind of like the goal, right? Locks them in on the way up and run it up to $18. So didn't play out. I'm sure there'll be other opportunities. So close those out, and sure enough, it's down here. It's only down 3.7%. It was up 8% yesterday. So I'll revisit, especially if buyers come in tomorrow. I'm still worried about that 200-day moving average sitting at 1108. So I don't know if we get back down there. If we do, I'll be certainly paying attention and then aggressive adding calls. So that's Serve. And then Risted Network, similar story, right? And I had those 152.50 weekly. Sure enough, it's 153 in the pre-market. Fades, opens at 150.35. Was chopping around. Looked like it was struggling to break out. I'm like, I don't want to be in a spot where I'm losing the profits on those. So I locked some in right away for over 100%, and then it started to fade by 10 o'clock or so. It was 147. I took the rest off for 50% or what have you. So now another profitable trade on Arista Networks. In hindsight, should I just held the 152.50s? I guess, but it is what it is. I'll certainly revisit. And it was funny. It's 10 o'clock. I'm like, it's going to do the same thing it did yesterday when it sells off, hits lows 10:30, and then bounces. That's what it did. 145 and change, all the way up to 150 just a little while ago. But I'm not the best timing. It's not a name I've traded over the last couple of months. It's not like I've had it on my main streamer all the time, so I don't really know how well it reacts. So now I know, and if I see other opportunities to trade for upside, I will. But thankfully, got some nice profits there on Arista. Zoom is still sitting here. I would say disappointing. It was down 1% yesterday after being up 10% on Monday. So I always try and look at a silver lining. It's considering the big move on Monday and where it was last week when it was an $80 stock. Good stuff. So now here it is today, up 2%. Would love to see it over 97.25. Got up to 97.50 right after the Fed statement, and then it's just kind of been chopping around the 96 handle here. Still have those February 110s. I want to add some more strikes. If I'm not going to go on a whole big rant on this name, but you look at that their stake in. Hold on a second. I'm just trying to pull this up. Uh, okay, so their $51 million stake in Anthropic from 2023. Who knows what that's worth? Wedbush, Dan Ives said it's upwards between 1.4 billion and 4 billion. Who knows what that number is? I mean, they're just throwing $1 billion valuations out there. But considering it's a $28 billion company, 8 billion in cash, so 30% of its valuation is just held in cash. Just a great story. Buybacks, and then it's like people looking that its growth opportunities are not really there. But yeah, it's like I always use the analogy on some of these stocks that they have their name is part of their brand, right? And the John Hancocks. That's why I always used to love DocuSign. And same with Zoom. I mean, people talk about having a meeting, it's Zoom, right? So I mean that's not worth 28 billion by itself, but it does have some staying power for a company that, if you're a small business and you need to have meetings, you're going to use Zoom, right? And then, we were talking about some of their moat. They have what, 4,500 customers that do in excess of 10. I don't know if it's 10 million in revenue. So anyway, I'm not going to go on a big rant on Zoom. More of the stories, I want to get aggressive on calls for more upside, but I'm going to be patient because you never know, right? And S&P's up 5 days in a row. At some point, we're going to have some kind of pull. Maybe that'll be an opportunity to add some more strikes. All right, that's Zoom. Sorry there, folks. Other names I'm watching, right? I keep looking at SolarEdge to try and play this for $40. That energy story is not going away. And at some point, this catches a fire again. And I don't want to be chasing. I don't know if it's going to be an upgrade or some other catalyst. So I'll probably sit on my hands here today just because the earnings after the bell could move markets, and maybe there'll be some opportunities to get less expensive positions. So uh, probably gonna be patient there, but some point I'm another name I'm gonna be in at some point again. And then Reddit. Wow, I mean, just Reddit was $260 2.5 weeks ago, and here it is under $200. And it's like one of those names. Uh, it's like you want to get the paddles and wake it up, revive it, because that's how bad it looks. It's just horrible. So this morning it's 189, and I'm like, wow, maybe this is the bottom. And boom, $12 reversal, almost hits $200, and then it's been bleeding ever since. And now it's at 192 and change. So uh, tough to be confident in some kind of bounce. Maybe there's something behind the scenes. I don't know. So for now, just continue to watch it. Maybe as the week gets closer to an end, I'll look for some spec lottos on Reddit. And then some of these other software. I was talking about ServiceNow at the start of. Let's see here. Why is this? Okay, sorry, folks. I'm just trying to see the Reddit strikes. Right, the two tens are 40 by 48. Normally I'd be right up my wheelhouse, right? I would look at that and I'd be salivating like a dog with a big steak sitting in front of him, right? But for now, I'm just going to sit on my hands, be patient, no reason to rush. And it's not that volatile either. So, all right, so that's Reddit. And then ServiceNow, right? So yesterday I'm looking at the 154s, 155s for this week. Thankfully, didn't get those for premium build. And now next week, right? So if you want to be a little throw some lottos, the 155s are still 45 by 50 for next week. But that would imply that there's some decent move on earnings, right? There's $11.88 implied move on now. So that's what, 8.5%, 9%? I don't know if the risk reward is there. So I'll just be patient. And that's it, folks. Have a great day. I'm trying to think of somebody, SSYS looked like it was going to break out of its bull flag this morning. That's kind of not doing much down here at $11, but boring to watch. Altimmune. It was hanging around the 580s all morning. Then the noon hour hits highs. I thought it was going to have red to green slingshot all the way into the sixes and beyond. And then it's been selling ever since. So no, I have time on my calls. Just have the freebie and profits on those Februarys. Got those Marches. Yesterday, I'll just continue to hold those for now. And at some point, you have to think these catch fire. You have that initiation this morning by Barclays with $20 price target outperform rating. Some of these bio names, you see crazy price targets. Sometimes they don't matter as much. I remember back in the day, you look at some of these bio, even VKTX. I mean, some of these analysts have 150 excess. I don't know what's the highest price target on VKTX, but you look at that and then you look at the stocks like, wait, someone's got something wrong. But some of this values in data and, some of these analysts, their price targets aren't for next month. They go for the whole year. So, or multiple years. All right, let's have a great day, folks. I'll be back. Rock and roll.